Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our National STIC Conference. It's been a while since we've gotten together, and a lot has been happening, so we have plenty of ground to cover today. As we've done in the past, we're going to call upon people in a couple of states to highlight the great work they're doing to advance innovation. Mary Ridgway, our division administrator in Delaware, will be joined by the Secretary of Transportation for the state of Delaware, Jennifer Cohen, who has not only in her current capacity as a state DOT secretary, but in her previous capacity as administrator for the Motor Vehicle Bureau, has been a long advocate and practitioner of innovation. So we're so pleased to have the secretary joining us today. And our division administrator in Missouri, Kevin Ward, will be joined by Ed Hasinger, the chief engineer for the Missouri Department of Transportation, better known as MoDOT. Thank you very much for joining us. Certainly one of our nation's leading chief engineers. We're certainly pleased to have you on board with a couple of our finest division administrators. We look forward to hearing from them in just a few minutes. I'm excited to kick off our conference today by thanking and congratulating each of you, your state DOTs, your leadership, the stakeholders, our partners for helping us reach really a major milestone, and we've reached it all together. On April 18th, Ford Fujigami, the director of the Hawaii Department of Transportation, and Mayela Sosa, our division administrator in Hawaii, signed their STIC charter. With the signing of that charter, we now have a STIC in every state: the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and our Federal Lands Highway Division. Ladies and gentlemen, the National STIC Network is complete. Completing the network is something I've thought about, talked about, and dreamed about since we launched Everyday Counts in 2009. I've always considered the network to be the single most important piece in creating an ongoing culture of innovation in the transportation industry. The network is not only critical to identifying and deploying innovation today, but it will continue to play that role in the future, especially when you consider that Congress included Everyday Counts in the FAST Act, essentially making it the law of the land, then backed it up by authorizing $337 million for the Technology and Innovation Deployment Program for the next 5 years. There are resources within that program that are utilized to support the Everyday Counts initiative and the national network. Hawaii completes that network, but I also want to acknowledge a couple of other states that have signed STIC agreements since our last video conference. Texas and California have both chartered STICs in the last several months. I actually had the pleasure of joining Director Malcolm Doherty and his team at Caltrans and our division administrator Vince Mamano as they signed the California charter. Now, Texas and California are the two biggest programs with respect to the Federal Aid Highway Program, along with a number of other states. Organizing this kind of effort in a program that large really takes on a special level of commitment. So I'm particularly appreciative of the work that my friends in California and Texas have done to get us to this point. So, and extend that to everyone for your commitment to the STIC network. Congratulations on building something significant and really meaningful together. But as I mentioned in my remarks to the AASHTO spring meeting last week, this is not the finish line, it's the starting line. Now that we have completed the network, what are we going to do with it? If you've been part of these video conferences before, you may have heard me use one of my favorite analogies, the story of Abraham Lincoln and the axe. If you've heard it, please bear with me. If you haven't, here it goes. According to the story, Lincoln said if he had 6 hours to chop down a tree, he'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Well, that's what we've been doing. While we've been building the network, we've been in effect sharpening the axe. Now it's time to put it to work. The whole concept behind the STICs was to put each state in the driver's seat to make the innovation decisions that best fit its unique needs. The states have taken that role very seriously. Each state has tried 10 or more of the 32 innovations we've advanced in the first 3 rounds of Everyday Counts. Now we're in the process of making final decisions on the innovations we'll be advancing in round 4. We're weighing all the feedback we've gotten from stakeholders, and we'll be announcing the final list soon, with the innovation summits taking place in the fall. I also want to let everyone know that just last week, I joined Bud Wright, the executive director of AASHTO, and the members of the AASHTO Innovation Initiative in signing a memorandum of understanding that formalizes the relationship between our Center for Accelerating Innovation and the AII, which is basically the committee of jurisdiction that's focused on innovation deployment and really working with us and on the process of Everyday Counts. The bottom line of this arrangement is that it will keep feeding the innovation pipeline and furthering the work we're doing together to find and deploy innovative solutions. With a completed network and an ongoing flow of ideas, the next step is to take our innovation network to the next level. We'll continue to encourage more collaboration among the STICs and to invite more sharing of ideas and successes, while still leaving the ultimate deployment decisions up to each state. And we'll continue to focus on creating a culture of innovation in the transportation industry on an ongoing basis. We believe some organizational changes we've made recently here at Federal Highway will help support that effort. We've reorganized our Office of Innovative Program Delivery, better known as OIPD inside here, which will be led by our first Chief Innovation Officer, Tony First. The Center for Accelerating Innovation will become part of OIPD. And I'm pleased to welcome Tony here this afternoon to share a few thoughts about what that will mean for Everyday Counts and our goal of taking the network to that next level. So I'd like to introduce to you Tony First, who, by the way, before he came to the federal government and US DOT, served several years in the Navy and 14 years, I believe, in the Coast Guard. He told me what rank he was, but I can't remember. I don't know rank. Lieutenant Commander, which always impresses me, anyone who could reach that level of in any service. So we're lucky to get Tony serving US DOT, and certainly in recent years as our Director of the Office of Freight, the Associate Administrator for Safety, and now our first Chief Innovation Officer. So Tony comes to us well equipped to lead what is really for Federal Highway and our state and local partners and our private sector partners, I think a new level of commitment to innovation. So without further delay, Tony First.
Thank you, Greg. Very much appreciated. And good afternoon, everybody. I want to fill you in a little bit about OIPD. While the Center for Accelerating Innovation is coming into OIPD, there are other centers that will be in that office as well. The Center for Innovative Finance Support will continue to stay within the Office of Innovative Program Delivery. That was the genesis of the office back when it was first created back in 2008. It will deal with GARVIs, SIBs, P3s, tolling, and the like, and it will also be the connection of FHWA to the new bureau that is being established up in the Office of the Secretary in concert with the FAST Act, the Transportation and Innovative Finance Bureau. Then, of course, we have the Center for Accelerating Innovation, which will deal with EDC and advance that program, and of course, work with all of you in the STICs. There will be a Center for Local Aid Support. This is the center that will be working the network of LTAPs and TTAPs to see if we can advance innovation in the local programs, the LPAs, as aggressively as we possibly can. And they will, of course, continue to work with the training aspects of the LTAPs and TTAPs. And then we will have a Center for Transportation Workforce Development. This will cover how we can more effectively advance the opportunities for people to find jobs, basically matching up supply and demand as effectively as we can for transportation workforce development. We will be working a lot with the Department of Labor and their workforce investment boards to find ways to marry up the opportunities for people that have the skills and the desire to get with those people who have the jobs in the transportation industry. So those are the 4 centers that we will have in the Office of Innovative Program Delivery. There are major networks attached to each of those. The STIC network covers the entire nation. The LTAP-TTAP network covers the entire nation. And the Workforce Investment Boards with the Department of Labor, which we will work with, covers the entire nation. So we have a whole series of networks that we have to work with. And of course, the new network, the STIC network, that we'll be working with very effectively going forward. There are a number of things that I want to kind of catch you up on this afternoon before we turn it over to our presenters. Number one, as Greg said, we have gone through all of the input and intake process of getting all of the innovations for EDC4 coming to us. And I want to note that a third of the innovations that we took a look at were presented to us by the STICs. So congratulations to all of you for presenting the types of innovations that can be included in EDC4 going forward. Then we vetted all of those with our program offices. We worked effectively with our stakeholders. And as Greg said, we will be announcing the finalists for the EDC4 initiatives here in the next week or so. As Greg said, he also inked a new MOU with BUD, with AII and CAI back in, last week at the Spring Business Meeting with AASHTO, which will be focusing on EDC and the EDC pipeline. In concert with that, we will be announcing a new FHWA AII STIC Excellence Award. The whole focus of it will be on how to advance a stronger innovation culture within all of the states and within the STICs. So the procedures, the practices, the best practices, the ways of doing business in the STICs that we think have broad applicability across the entire country and that demonstrate the type of commitment to a safety culture going forward is what this award is designed to produce. Lastly, the MAP 21 Aid Demonstration Grant Program is now complete. That we got 61 projects and $43 million out the door on that. We still have a few more to go, so all of the applications that have come in, we will continue to vet and evaluate. And then for the FAST Act Aid Demonstration Grant Program, we'll be coming out under a new Notice of Funding opportunity in the near future, and the goal again is $10 million per year with similar requirements to what we had with the MAP 21 Aid Demo Program. So with that, we're ready to turn it over to our presenters. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony, and thanks to your entire team for the work they're doing to make this all possible. We've said from the inception of Everyday Counts that it was really going to be, that it was designed to be a state-based initiative. And as a result of what we've built together, we now have a clearer sense of what that means. The leadership of the states has been instrumental in the success we're achieving together, including the unprecedented step Congress took to include Everyday Counts by name in the FAST Act, which still blows me away. That was a tremendous vote of confidence in the work we're doing together. And so it's always a pleasure to, during this section of our STIC conferences, to highlight some of the leadership coming from the states in the area of innovation. And we're going to begin this afternoon in Delaware, which is doing outstanding work to foster an innovation culture. Two of the people responsible for that are joining us now, as I mentioned earlier, Mary Ridgway, our Federal Highway Division Administrator for Delaware, and Secretary Cohen of the Delaware Department of Transportation, my friend and innovation leader. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary and Jennifer, and we're looking forward to what you have to say.
Well, thank you, Greg. I'm really excited to be here today to introduce to everybody my partner here, Secretary Jennifer Cohen. I'll tell you a little bit about her, but what I really wanted to say was how much she has embraced innovation, and not only embraced it, but she has taken it and ran with it and hasn't stopped since. And not only that, but she's been able to instill this enthusiasm and excitement with her staff. And we really do appreciate that. But Jennifer was appointed back in January of 2015. She was to be the third woman to lead the Delaware Department of Transportation. And prior to this, she was, as Greg had mentioned, she was the director of the Department of Motor Vehicles. And I can tell you that when I went and got my license, when I moved here, that they were fast, they were friendly, and they were efficient. And if that doesn't scream innovation, then I don't know what does for DMV, for a DMV. And that's all thanks to Jennifer's leadership. Her public service career has spanned over 27 years. I believe she started when she was around 10 years old. She served as a financial program manager at the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, overseeing the state's clean water program. She's worked with the Delaware State Legislature, within the Office of the Comptroller General. While at DelDOT, she served leadership roles in planning, finance, and motor carrier safety. I think Greg also mentioned she's on a number of boards. I mean, she has boundless energy. If I had 1/10 of the energy this woman has, she's a member of AASHTO Board of Directors. She chairs the I-95 Corridor Coalition, just a number of committees. Graduated summa cum laude from Wilmington University, bachelor's degree in science management, master of science in public administration. And if that weren't enough, she's also an adjunct professor at Wilmington University, teaching leadership and public policy. Oh, and she's president of the Greater Dover Area Boys and Girls Club. So, without further ado, and I'm getting tired just reading this, so I'm going to turn it over to our great partner, Secretary Jennifer Cohen, and she's going to tell you how she's instilled some of this excitement.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary and Greg, for having me to talk about my favorite topic, innovation.
There you go.
We're doing a lot of great things here in Delaware, and I'm looking forward to taking you through the presentation and talking about some of the highlights. So I always like to start off all my presentations with going through what our motto and our mission is for the Department of Transportation in Delaware, and that's to provide excellence in transportation every trip, every mode, every dollar, every one. Now, while that might not scream innovation, the way we came up with this mission and vision statement actually is pretty innovative, in my opinion. We have a very large department, and we have over 3,000 employees in 9 different divisions. So what we did is we got a very diverse group of individuals from all of the divisions, from every area of our operations, and they actually came up with this vision and mission statement. So not only is it something that I'm proud of, it's actually something that all DelDOT employees are proud of. So this this is actually a quote that was in one of our technical magazines a couple of weeks ago, and it was the headline was DelDOT's got the innovation bug. Delaware's Department of Transportation is getting hip and with it lately. So we were pretty proud of that, and we're going to go through some of the reasons why that story came about. So it's really difficult when you say, how does DelDOT innovate? How does one innovate? So what we're really blessed with here in Delaware is that we're a small state. We have very good relationship with our legislators. We have very good relationships with our contractors. So it's really a relationship-built state. So that makes us very nimble and very innovative when it comes to exploring new ideas and hearing different viewpoints and positions. Customer focused, we are extremely customer focused. As you heard with my bio from Mary and Greg, I spent 7 years running the Department of Motor Vehicles, and customer service is hugely important. And I will tell you, your most disgruntled customer is your best guide on how to improve your business and how you deliver your projects. So being customer focused is something that we're hugely aiming to continue and increase. Now, an innovative culture, this is also something it's very difficult to quantify, but it really starts with a couple of things. One, innovation champions, which I consider myself and all of my senior leadership team. But it also really relies on making sure that that message reaches every person in the department, and that they know that they're empowered to innovate. They're empowered to go build something. They're empowered to come up with a new project or a new way to deliver a project. So that's something that it really needs to focus on and continue to make sure that is a top-down, bottom-up mentality, and that it's preached in every division that you have.
Technical difficulties.
That's okay. Just need to go backwards a little bit.
What's going on?
Are you good?
It's not letting me. Oh, there we go. So, talking about project delivery, one of the things that we wanted to focus on is some of the EDC and STIC's information and projects and ideas. So accelerated bridge construction, we are moving forward with our very first accelerated bridge construction project this fall. We're happy and excited to do that. We're using ultra-high performance concrete on our bridges and purchased the equipment to test that concrete with STIC funds. Which was very, very helpful. CMGC and design build. Both of those, we were very lucky this past General Assembly and legislative session to be able to get legislation passed to be able to do both of those things, continue our design build, and also do some CMGC. Our first CMGC RFP was advertised this week, so we're looking forward to rolling that out. E-construction, we gave all of the tablets to all of our construction folks. And I'll tell you a quick story about that. I was at the training, and tablets, we gave tablets to all of them. We had an extremely diverse group. And just watching some of the older engineers and some of the younger engineers as they were learning to maneuver around the tablet was very interesting. But every single construction person and field person that got the tablets are really, it's almost like how did they do those jobs before that they had that. And we also use STIC funds for the scanning tour and some of the software and who was doing what. So that was very, very helpful. Watershed Resource Registry is a GIS tool that will quickly identify environmental protection areas within our project limits. We're using STIC funds to start developing that as well. The railroad DOT mitigation strategies, we're really trying to streamline the master agreements and working with our railroad individuals and partners, and then identifying managing utility conflicts. One of the things that we've been trying to focus on too is including customer outreach is while we have a winter workshop every year that focuses on working with our contractors and getting everybody in the same place at the same time to talk about what went really well during the construction season and what didn't, we were leaving sections out. So this past year we held our first utility summit. So we had all of our utility partners in the same place at the same time, and it really went a long way, and it's probably the beginning of many, many summits with them, just so everyone understands, what we're responsible for and what the rules are. And again, just bringing everybody together just helps foster those relationships. Again, Delaware being a small state, that's what sets us apart. Now, one of the things too about doing innovative things and doing new things, we broke ground for our first Diverging Diamond Interchange several months ago, and that's great. It's first time we've done this in the state. It's an innovative technology and intersection improvement that's been implemented throughout the country. I think there's been about 60 of them. This is the first time we've done it in Delaware. But what we can't do is we need to make sure that we educate and do some outreach so that individuals in that area understand what we're doing and what the new intersection is going to look like, so we can make sure that the driving behavior matches the innovation. I don't like saying we want to innovate drivers because that's scary, but I do like to say we need to make sure that they are being educated and they know what to expect with these projects. So we've done some interactive videos and we've done a lot of community outreach in the area of this new interchange. And if it goes successfully, which we hope and believe it will, we'll be able to do more of those throughout the state. One of the interesting things that we do in Delaware also is we recycle bicycles. We do this for a couple of reasons. One is we do have bicycles that are either abandoned on some of our transit buses that we just come into contact with. And we do this mostly at the resort areas in our beach towns for many reasons. One is because it's an additional mode of transportation. Two is that Delaware, I'm sad to say, is one of the highest fatality rates for pedestrians and bicyclists in the country. So when we recycle these bikes and we give them to the individuals in the resort areas, we also give them, and they're required to go through a 2-hour training, and so they know how to be safe on the bicycle. So we're going to be rolling this out in a couple of our other cities in the near future. So that's an innovative thing. And the only promise is you go through the safety training, you use the bike for the season, and then you return it, and then we pay that forward. So pretty interesting and innovative approach. A couple of years ago, we also passed some legislation that will allow for us to implement some transportation improvement districts. So far, we've done 2 of them, both of them in our northern county. Both of the ones that we have done have been extremely successful. to the point where we've had major employers locate in those those improvement districts. We've had transit expansion in those districts. But really what the purpose of a transportation improvement district is a long-term strategic planning to ensure transportation infrastructure stays not just, in tune with development, but actually gets ahead of development. And where in Delaware, we're a little bit unique because the land use decisions are made at a local level and the transportation decisions and planning is done at a state level. So that relationship sometimes can be a little bit contentious, but we've been very successful with our relationships with our counties and implementing these transportation improvement districts. So again, more of those we're hoping will be coming soon, especially in some of our busy resort areas. Excellent tool to make sure that transportation infrastructure keeps up and hopefully gets ahead of development. So now this might look a little strange, but one of the things that I found early on when I'm going out into the public and presenting, we all, as states, we all go through our capital transportation plan. We go through, all of the, all the list, here's all the different funding types and the color of money and everything else. But that really doesn't translate well to a public, digestible document. So what we started doing is doing our project updates when we go out for our public hearings and we go to our legislature, is doing a corridor view, a regional perspective. So for Delaware, for example, you see on the right side here, we know exactly where goods and people flow in and out of our state. So focusing on the corridors that we know need the upgrades and need the improvements based on those facts. So what you're seeing on the right, so this is a different way of us showing, these are the projects that we're working on. The red check means that they are done. The yellow means that they are under construction. And then the blue with no check means that they are in the CTP and we will be getting to those projects in the next 6 years. It is just a much more innovative way to show what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're focusing our dollars instead of just a spreadsheet full of projects. It's been very well received throughout the state, and especially with our politicians. They're like, oh, now I understand, now that I can see it as a picture. So it's been very well received. So focusing on customer service, again, something that's very near and dear to my heart. In some states, the Motor Vehicle Division is also in the Department of Transportation, and that's how it is here in Delaware now. So we are launching later this month something called the DMV On The Go, which is actually a retrofitted paratransit bus that will now be able to provide motor vehicle services throughout the state. I call it like the bookmobile, the DMV bookmobile. So that's been, we're really excited to launch that next month. It's already booked up for the next year, so it's going to be on tour, so to speak. We also, this last winter, launched our snowplow tracker. So one of the things I'm most proud of is our DeLDOT app. And on that app, which you can download through the Google Play or Apple Store, is just a ton of really, really good information. Again, we launched our snowplow tracker. The blizzard that we had back in January, really, we went from having 5,000 downloads a day to in the middle of that blizzard, we had 40,000 downloads in one day. So we know that the customers are looking to us and they're looking to this app for information, and it's been a beautiful thing. So that's something that we're really proud of. Electronic plan submittals for developers, we launched that back in June of last year. It's been such a much more efficient way, much more accurate way, and to streamline the plan submittals for our developers, and it's been very well received by the development community. The other thing that we wanted to do is we were successful in getting a revenue package passed, so we are literally moving every single one of our capital transportation projects forward. And most of you who deal with legislators know that there tends to be some legislative entanglement in that process. So what we developed are quarterly legislative reports. We do these legislative reports by district to every single legislator, letting them know everything that's going on in their district, everything that's getting ready to be going on in their district as far as transportation infrastructure it goes. Now, two things. One, that has cut down on the complaints and comments back from the legislators. And two, kind of a wonderful unintended consequences, is that the legislators have become a platform for us to get the information to their constituents. So it really was a win-win with that. So a very innovative way for us to reach many more people and cut down on the complaints from legislators and questions from them. One of the other things that we are doing is we launched a DeIDOT Gateway. And we're calling this geographical access to everything. One of the things that I noticed early on after becoming secretary is we had all of this data, all of these data sets that were fantastic, but we didn't share them with anybody. So we created this gateway which contains tons of information, all of our paving rehab projects, all of our where our bridges are, legislative districts. You can search by address. This is an example. Any bicycle, pedestrian trail, or pathway that's in our inventory, you can search by your address and find and locate them. Very excellent, really good tool, especially customer facing. Much more information out there, and we're starting to advertise this as well. But a really good, innovative way to get our message to our customers. Transit, again, we've been doing a lot with our transit in Delaware. We just launched our bus stop locator on our app, so you can pull up our app and see where all the bus stops are. You can say when the next scheduled bus is coming. We have the real-time bus information on the app. We also are going to be launching a replacement of all of our bus stops and shelters, which will be more modern, and they will have real-time bus information located digitally on the actual bus station stops themselves. One of the other things that we struggled with a little bit is that we knew we needed service in some of our rural areas, but it didn't make a lot of sense to run a 40-foot bus in that area just for a few individuals. But we knew the service was needed. So in our rural Sussex County area, we created some flex bus services, which they are almost like on hail for a certain route, but they're on hail for a mile outside of that route. That's been extremely successful, especially with our Hispanic population in that area who didn't have access to public transportation before that. So, and then coordinating transportation. We didn't do a lot of, we just created bus routes for several different reasons, origin, destination. We think people are going here or going there, but we weren't really coordinating it with major employers. So last year, we really started reaching out to our major employers, Amazon, Purdue, and saying, hey, we know we need to get your employees to you at certain times, at certain shifts. So we provide public transportation, and the employers were happy to subsidize that. So that was a really good win-win, but it does take that relationship building and that coordination and outreach. We also simplified our paratransit recertification process. Those who utilize our paratransit service are some of our most sensitive individuals in the state, and we had been making them go through some ridiculous certification process. So we streamlined that, and the recertification process is extremely simplified and easy for them to use. And then we also provide transportation for our veterans. We launched the guide to that, and that's a free service that we offer through our transit agency as well, because there's a high demand and need for that. So one of the things that my governor continues to preach and we all embrace, and I'm happy that FHWA embraces too, is the connection between transportation infrastructure and quality of life. And what you're seeing here is this is an area in one of our major metropolitan cities that right now is a high crime area, high violence area, but it's actually a park. And one of the reasons that people think that there is, the violence is because it's kind of become a quasi-transit station for our buses. So what we're doing is working with the city, and we're basically redoing this area. We're going to add kiosks. We're going to make it more of a livable, walkable, it's a beautiful, actually, solution to a transportation infrastructure issue that was created. So really trying to understand the nexus and acknowledge the nexus between transportation infrastructure and quality of life. So now the fun part, this is my favorite part. One of the things that we didn't do a lot of is community outreach. And what you're seeing in front of you is our mascot. This is Wally, the Work Zone Warrior. And what better way to spread the message of work zone safety than putting Wally, the Work Zone, into parades, and he goes to community events. We cover hundreds of thousands of individuals. Wally is actually now very famous in Delaware. He was recently, last weekend, he was the star at the Buccaneer Bash in Bowers Beach. We dressed him up like a pirate. But the point of that is, this is an innovative way to market and advertise for work zone safety. And I can tell you, it really is working. We give out stickers, obey, the work zone rules. It's been very successful, and we're going to be continuing to do a lot more of that. And then we use our employees as volunteers for these parades. And I will tell you, there's nothing better for morale than driving through a parade and having, just regular citizens scream, "Yo, go DelDOT, we love DelDOT." So it's really kind of a twofer in my opinion, but a very innovative way to spread our message. And then these two young gentlemen are our employees of the year. They, on their own, went out and started doing presentations on bridge management and how cool engineering is to K through 12 children. And they were chosen as our employee of the year. They are in very high demand. What better way to spread the information about, hey, being an engineer is cool, working for DelDOT is cool. And the adorable part is these guys dress alike all the time. I don't even think they try to do that, but they are also in high demand. They, outside of their offices, they have all of these thank you notes from these kids who, eventually, hopefully will grow up and be future DelDOT engineers. But it also, again, it helps their morale. It increases our message and lets everyone know these kids, they're just very into it. Lots of fun. So staff development, I'm sure you've already noticed that is also near and dear to my heart. So we're really focusing on staff development. We have a DMV manager in training where we pick employees from all different sections. Whether you can be a toll operator, you can be an inspector, you can be anything, and we put you through a 6-week training course. Which exposes you to all of state government, exposes you to leadership's classroom training. And that gave birth to the Leadership Academy, which is a larger department-wide leadership academy. And this has been such a great thing. The governor comes and talks to them. They have classroom activities. They go to the legislature where you have them write legislation. It's very intense. And I will tell you, this has spread like wildfire in our department. We have a waiting list for this program. Those who have taken these programs, we have a 40% promotion rate. So it really is working, and we're really diverse with the individuals that take the course. So I'm very excited to continue that. But another innovative way to grow our own leaders, because as transportation agencies, we all struggle with the retaining. We have a lot of our workforce that's eligible to retire. So we really need to make sure that we grow our own leaders. And then our most recent, we just launched something called Innovation Station. And what this is a way for us to collect innovative ideas from every area of our department. And I will tell you that some of our best ideas come from either a maintenance equipment operator in the field, a vehicle inspector out in the lanes, a toll collector, all of these great ideas that these individuals have, but there isn't really a single mechanism for them to do that. So by creating this innovation station, any employee could submit an idea, and the great thing is we have a committee of employees that review those ideas and decide, hey, this is worth putting some money into. And when we launched it, we said, don't worry about the money, don't worry about, if you have a great idea, you submit it and we will work through it. So we're really looking at this as hopefully to be a national model on how to kind of, get innovation at the very heart and the core of our folks. So the first one, I put out a challenge. I was actually picking up cones in a cone truck that our traffic engineers actually built and created. A very safe, efficient way to lay cones. So we laid out the challenge for our staff, and really looking forward to sharing with FHWA some of the ideas that come out of that. Pretty exciting stuff. So I always like to promote our DelDOT app. So everybody get out your cell phones and go to that USC code and download our app. But with that, that's my presentation, and happy to take any questions.
And there
Well,
is
you.
now an opportunity for questions, Mary?
Yes, and thank you, Jennifer. And I just, I was thinking as you were talking about one of the first times we were at one of the workshops, the winter workshops, and she had just come on board and was talking to the group, and then everybody would give their presentations. And we were sitting there counting the number of times that the word innovation came up. And
Well, I was counting. Mary was going ding,
Ding.
ding.
Well, I mean, and it said to me that they really believed in her and they wanted to to do that innovation. And I mean, it's been, like I said, gangbusters ever since Jennifer came on board.
You just needed to be empowered and get out of the way. Let them do their.
Right. So I think she's here for a few minutes if you have questions.
And the question method simply on the VTC system. So if you have a question from anywhere in the country, just pipe up and present it. We're looking forward to continuing the conversation. So
Hi, Greg.
Go
Greg,
ahead.
you got Connecticut here.
Go ahead.
Tom Maziarz from Connecticut DOT. Question for Jennifer on the Transportation Improvement District. Is that sort of a taxing district, or how does that work?
Excellent question. The way it works is, and it's going to vary by district. I'll give you, for example, we had a transportation improvement district in Westtown and Middletown in one of our counties, and we worked with the local land use agency and determined, based on state strategies for spending, where they want to develop. And then we worked with the development community and basically outlined state will pay for 70% of the transportation infrastructure in that area, and the developing community would pay for 30%. So the beauty of that is that, the developers, they just want a known commodity. They want to know what they're going to have to pay when they go develop in a certain area, compared to, not knowing and going development by development. And the state wanted to be able to say, we want to make sure development only goes in certain areas where we can support it. So it's kind of a tax district, but it really is between the state and the developer. So again, and the ratio it varies from district to district.
Thank you. Other questions?
Welcome.
This is Tom Maziarz again.
Go ahead.
Tom Maziarz again. Who would we contact at DelDOT to find out more information on that?
You can contact me or my Deputy Secretary, Nicole Majeski.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? We have some coming in from another source. So but anybody in the meetings across the country, if you have a question, just speak up. Well, we get our audio on the other questions live.
You make volunteer.
But it's not happening.
Yes, our little mascot here was actually an idea from one of the employees.
Yep.
And I am the proud owner of a mini Wally mascot. A gift, an award
Yes, you
to
are,
me
Greg.
by the secretary. It's in my office, proudly displayed. I want you to know.
Hi, Jennifer. This is Tom Harmon.
Nice, thank you.
I'm going to read some questions that are coming over the chat. And yes, your mascot is in our administrator's office. I've seen it there. How did you market the innovation station within your DOT? That's the first one.
So, excellent question. We have what we call Team Spirit newsletter that goes out to all of our employees every Friday. So we use that. We also have a strategic leadership team, which is all of the senior leadership team. There's about 100 of them that meet quarterly. We advertise through them. We're still looking for ways to advertise to our folks that don't necessarily have access to computers, like our equipment operators and some of our toll collectors. So we're looking to do that either through their union representation or through they have these the morning stand-up meetings. So one of the things you've got to be, if you're going to launch something like this, you need to understand that you're launching it to engineers, and you're also launching it to toll collectors. So you need to make sure that there's many venues for them to be able to submit their ideas. And if they don't have a computer, we have a form that they can fill out to do the same thing.
All right, here's the next question up. Thank you. The next question up is from another STIC. They want to know how often your STIC meets and who the membership is.
I'll leave that
Well,
with you.
yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
we usually, what we try to do is we try to meet at the quarterly STIC meetings, because
Easier.
it's just easier to get people together, So we meet 4 times a year. We have AGC membership. We have one of the larger cities, the city of Wilmington's Public Works. The state, we have all of our MPOs, and we're continuing to grow. We're always looking for outreach.
Great.
So that's what's been working.
The Leadership Academy, who does the training? Is it DelDOT employees, or do you have offsite, or do you get vendors to come in to help out?
So that's a really good question. So if you recall in my bio, I'm actually an adjunct professor at Wilmington University. So a lot of the leadership training actually comes from me and my senior staff. But we have guest speakers come in. We have our congressmen, we have our senators, we have the governor come in, we have members of FHWA come in and explain the partnership, which I think is really important, because I don't think some of our employees actually understand that relationship and how great it is in Delaware.
Right.
And then we also have field trips. We have contractors come in. It's pretty intense. I'd be happy to share the curriculum with folks. It is a tremendous commitment by senior leadership in the department, but it's extremely important to us, so we are committed to doing it. But happy to share all the materials with anyone who's interested in taking a look.
Fantastic. The next one is about your app. How did you develop or create your app?
Well, it started small. It started just with our cameras on all of our infrastructure and our roadways, and then we just continued to build it. It's kind of a hybrid. It's actually in a refresh stage of development right now. We had an outside consultant do the original version. We've had some data layers that were put on by our own internal IT staff, but like I said, we're in the middle of a refresh of it right now. It's just a tremendous tool. I mean, it's real-time traffic information. It's, the Bluetooth information that we have from our roadways, our cameras. I like it when I pull the map up and I see all green. When I see yellow and red, I just delete.
I use it all the time.
Yeah, it's really good information.
The next one's about the ideas that come out of the Innovation Station. Those ideas may be applicable to other DOTs. Do you publish those ideas or make them available on your website?
So, well, since we just launched it, that's actually an excellent idea. We'd be happy to do that.
Fantastic. And that's all the questions we have in the chat.
And you launched it about 2 weeks ago? you
Yeah,
said?
we launched it a couple weeks ago. We just finished the video yesterday of the messaging. So, as they come through, we'd be happy to share those.
All right, great. I'm going to turn it back to Greg.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, both of you, for answering those questions. I'll offer one more up to the general audience. Any other questions out there? We're going to wrap this segment up and go on to the next one, unless there's one more burning question. And seeing none, I want to thank Jennifer and Mary very much. The Secretary, I think, has demonstrated what is sort of the dynamic of the STIC network. I've always described STICs as very organic. They kind of adapt to their environment. Every state's different in terms of how they approach it, how they structure it. And what the Secretary described for us today, I think, is one state who has taken innovation to a whole nother level. In the EDC realm, we tend to focus on project delivery and specific technology or process innovations, and that's kind of, I think, the core of what we do. But in some states, and I think Delaware clearly is an example of that, it really goes far beyond that, innovation, and that's kind of what OIPD, what Tony described earlier, kind of represents federal highway. It's kind of the broadening of our commitment to innovation, and DelDOT has certainly taken it to that level. So thank you very much for sharing all that with us. Great inspiration and great examples and great ideas. Thank you very much, Jennifer and Mary. And collaboration and partnership have always been at the heart of EDC, but there's also a role of some good old-fashioned competition. That's part of the approach being tried in Missouri. And it's my pleasure to introduce our division administrator for Missouri, Kevin Ward, to pick up that part of the story with his guest, Ed Hasinger of MoDOT, who, as I said earlier, is one of our nation's chief engineers, and those of you in DOTs and many of our stakeholders understand the role of the chief engineer in the Federal Aid Highway Program and state DOTs. Day in, day out, they're on the front lines of making decisions, whether it's what technology to use, what materials to use, or what contracting method to use. So very important to establishing that culture of innovation we talk about in MoDOT, and Ed are certainly high on that list of people pursuing and committed to innovation. So thank you again for joining us today, and I'll turn it over to Kevin and Ed.
Thank you. Well, I am here today to introduce our Chief Engineer for Missouri DOT, Ed Hassinger. I've known Ed for well over 15 years. I was here previously in another assignment and got to know him when he was our Chief Engineer in St. Louis. He's been our District Engineer in St. Louis. He's now our Chief Engineer, has been for the last 3 years. Ed started with the Missouri DOT 32 years ago, I believe, as a bridge engineer, and now he's kind of moved up through the ranks, worked as a traffic engineer and various other positions in MoDOT, and is now our chief engineer. One of the things certainly that Ed's known for in Missouri is his ability to collaborate and to bring people together, and certainly that's been a pleasure working with Ed over the last 7 years here in Missouri as the division administrator. When I worked with him here previously, I was one of the engineers in the office, and we worked together then too, and certainly got to know him and his willingness to, and not just willingness, but actually kind of pulling us along at times to want to innovate. And so it's been a real pleasure to work with Ed, and I'm going to go ahead now. He wanted me to keep this short and sweet, so I'm going to turn it over to him and let him take it over from here. So without further ado, sorry, Ed.
Thanks, Kevin. It's great to be here. It's kind of interesting. There must be a St. Louis connection here because I worked with Mary Ridgway in St. Louis. So, Mary, it's good to see you on video again. And I think a lot like what Delaware talked about. We at MoDOT have a culture of customer service. We also have a huge system, and we're pretty poor. We don't have a lot of money. So I think the idea of driving innovation to get better results for the people that we serve is hugely important. And we put it in our mission, in our value statements, and we talk about being bold and being willing to take risks. And I think a lot of innovation has to be driven by the culture you set with those things, because nobody's going to take a risk and step out there and get their head cut off later for making a mistake. And so we make it very clear and put that in our culture that we want you to take a risk, and we're going to back you up if something doesn't work. So I think that culture of innovation is really important. And I really got to applaud Federal Highway because, having a partner that's willing to do the same things makes your life a lot easier. So the discussions that have gone on with whether it's Sharp 2 or EDC, those things we have embraced. And we've taken any idea that we can take and make things better for Missouri. We've been really active in those programs and have pushed that initiative with our folks. And that's been hugely successful. And I think one of the other things that happens there, and I think Greg talked about it, is maybe it's competition, or maybe it's, hey, I see that idea, I like it, let's take it, and then it spurs something to say, well, let me add to that, or let me go one step further. And we see that so often when we're doing what we're doing here, and we're talking with Federal Highway and trying to make things better. So I think that's really important. I want to highlight just a few things. In our state, we took on something we termed as practical design. And that came out of a need that we needed to stretch our dollars farther. And so we looked at our design standards, and we looked at how we do our business to try to get more of things for Missourians, not build a great project, but build systems that do things better. And so some people saw that as, well, you're skimping on standards. We saw it as, we're making roads and bridges and transportation better for Missourians, and practical design has now become culture at MoDOT. And a lot of other states have asked us, well, what do you do and how do you do that? And we've talked with a lot of folks about that, and as money gets tight, people get a lot more interested in our practical design philosophy. In the program delivery arena, another thing that I think we've been a leader on is setting a new platform for design build. We've done several design build projects around the state where we've basically set goals and performance, not talking about, what is the 30% design, and getting way more product and way better projects at the end of the day by doing so. And the thing that I want to really highlight there is really not about the process. It's about that our process sets the environment for the private sector to innovate. And if you do that, you can let the private sector bring those innovations to the table. And if they know that you're open to it, they will go much farther than they will if they know that they're taking a huge risk and putting themselves out there. So the model that we put in place has gotten us projects that have developed far more scope, far better results, and we continue to perpetuate that and to try to get it better and better each time we do it. So every design build project we do is a little different, a little better. We build on the successes and learn from the mistakes, and we continue to do that. And the next one will be better than the last one. So we're pretty proud of that. But it's key to make sure that you bring the private sector to the table. It can't just be the government figuring out what to do. You can bring so much more innovation to your department if you're willing to set that tone with your private partners. One of the other things that I think we've done a lot of work on, and I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe a failure, is we started with the idea of recycling asphalt shingles and pavement. And we knew that that was a great way to stretch our dollars, to do some good things for the environment. And we had some really great success. And we kept pushing the envelope. And we kept working to say, can we incorporate more and more and more? Well, guess what? We found the limit. That one of our projects met with what I would call not success. And so I think that's an example of where you've got to be willing to push that envelope to the point where maybe you will have a failure. And so you step back, get the team back together and figure out where those limits are. And we're still moving forward with what is the next thing we're going to do with recycled material in our asphalt pavements. And so I just want to highlight that the fact is you got to be able to take the risk and be willing to support your folks when there might be maybe less than satisfactory results. One of our latest initiatives that we are in the middle of is something we call Road to Tomorrow. I talked a little bit about our funding challenge, but we have set out, we know that we need to rebuild our major interstates in Missouri, and there just isn't the funding to do it. And so we have taken I-70, which is our major interstate between our two major metropolitan areas of Kansas City and St. Louis, that is in dire need of being totally rebuilt as the interstate of the future. And we put it out there a year ago to say, we're going to give this to anybody and all comers as a laboratory to bring to us your innovations and tell us what does that look like for the future, with really no boundaries. And so we have gotten literally hundreds of ideas, and over the last year we have kind of narrowed those down to ones that make sense, ones that we want to take farther. And one of the key points to this is not only was it just about doing things that are technologically innovative, things that move traffic, kind of the traditional place of where we would normally be, but we also said, you got to be able to tell us how you're going to do this and generate revenue, because that's part of our issue. It's not just about moving traffic and making the road for the future. It's also how do we generate the revenue? And we've gotten some really interesting ideas, and actually next week at our commission meeting will be the year anniversary of the Road to Tomorrow launch, and we're going to announce several ideas that we're going to put in a pilot stage. And I want to say that in some cases, federal highway partners might have said, you're going to do what? And I want to tell you that Kevin and his team have said, we're right there and we want to be there with you to make this thing move forward. So next week, I think you'll hear some things from our Road to Tomorrow effort that'll be pretty exciting, and we'll share those with everybody next week. I want to end with kind of this culture of innovation. And we do something in Missouri that we call the Innovations Challenge. And this is really more about setting the culture than it is about the actual things that come out of it. But I want to start it with a story. Many years ago, our maintenance folks in our buildings would take the scrap material that was in the back lot and they would weld up some kind of machine to do their job better. And one of our maintenance folks said, why don't we have a competition and see who's got the best ideas so we can share those around the state? And so this initiative started with something we called the Tool and Equipment Challenge, was basically our maintenance buildings, coming up with ideas and sharing them. And over the years, this has evolved into this competition that in every district we do this and take the best of the best out of districts and then put those into a statewide competition. And it's really the precursor to one of our big statewide meetings that we have our Innovations Challenge. We bring the best to a showcase. We have a little competition. It's really not as much about the competition as getting our folks to go look around at the ideas and kind of do that piggyback thing. You say, well, I like that idea. I'm going to take that back. I'm going to make it better. And then they bring it back year after year, and we continually get more innovative things that are better and better every year. And I want to preface this. I'm going to show you a video, but I want to preface this with a little story. When I was the district engineer in St. Louis, I had a huge problem. We were not meeting customer expectations on plowing snow. We had a lot of multi-lane facilities. I didn't have enough people. I didn't have enough trucks. And we were getting hammered every snowstorm. And so I was talking to one of our maintenance experts, and I was telling him, here's our problem. And I really didn't think anything of it. And about 2 weeks later, he came back to me with a little wood model. And he said, hey, Ed, what do you think about this? And he'd made it out of his kids' toys. Well, what that turned out to be is the next year at our Innovations Challenge, he had gone to the maintenance building and welded up what became known as the tow plow. And now that is a commercially available piece of equipment that's used in many parts of the world as, one of those things to help us be more efficient and plow snow. And that came out of a discussion and an idea that came through our Innovations Challenge and got refined and developed over years and then turned into this great tool that MoDOT uses to provide better service. So I want to end with this little video that kind of shows some of the great things that folks had come up with in this year's Innovations Challenge. And I want you to look at how excited the people are that are talking about what they're doing. Because one of the things this does is it gets our people engaged, it gets them excited. They want to make things better. And that's really as important as the innovations part, is keeping our folks engaged and doing better for our customers. So if you'll play the video, if we can do that.
MoDOT innovators from across the state gathered recently to compare notes and select the top innovations in projects, productivity, and tools and equipment. Here's a sample of the very best from this year's Innovations Challenge Showcase.
This is what we're using to go down our delineators, our guardrails, and our rope cables. Basically what we're doing, running the hydraulics off the tractor for our weed eater motors. Our delineators will come right in between here. These are able to just snap back, just keep right on going down the road without slowing down. Our operator's in the tractor. He's safe in the tractor. We have a follow truck that follows him. This way there's nobody that's out on the roadway trying to weed eat around traffic going by them. The cylinder here, it hydraulics out to where it goes out past our guardrail. We're able to work it back and forth, trim in around our guardrail. It raises up. We're able to raise up above our guardrail, set it down, and go around that. It also folds back against the tractor for roading it down the road if you're not actually going to use it, which makes it a safety feature. You don't have to have it as a wide load. We built the heads, the hydraulic motors, we had to find them, put them together, make our couplers for our weed eater heads. We're using a heavy-duty weed eater string. It's 4-sided, so it cuts real easy. We're able to take it off real easy. We're able to just set it down, put it against the post, chain it back, take these bolts out. This whole thing comes off. This is able to stay on the tractor, and we're able to put on another brush cutter. We're able to put on a blade, start doing drives with leaving this on. So it's pretty versatile. We went from the Iowa line to St. Louis in 2 weeks, 1 week going down, 1 week coming back. Just 2 guys, weed eating, delineators and guardrails. It's worked great. I mean, even the crews that was on the job, they said it worked great. They never felt, they was protected by the tractor, protected by the truck. They didn't have the fear of being out in the traffic. So it worked great for the whole crew.
25% of workman's comps are slips, trips, and falls. 29% of those are mounting and dismounting vehicles. 16% of those are snow and ice related. I've come up with a heated step system for our trucks using a 12-volt heat cable. Very simple electronics. Hook positive, hook negative, put 12 volts to it, it heats up. I then took an old street sign, put it in between run the cables in between the step and the street sign, hooked it to a 12-volt power supply with a switch. It keeps the snow off your step so you no longer have a slip, trip, and fall hazard. This actual step has been on a truck consistently for over 2 years now. There's no faults with it, no corrosion issues, no degradation of the actual cable. It cannot overheat, it's self-regulating. It can be overlapped. You can run them as long as you want. It's very simple. It is either going to eliminate slips, trips, and falls off vehicles, or it definitely will reduce that. And for the $75 you spend on a step is definitely a lot less than what you're going to spend for a workman's comp claim.
And a few years ago, I created something called the panic lights, and we've seen a lot of success with those panic lights. They're reducing close calls and hits, but I wasn't satisfied with that. I call that phase 1. Phase 2 is an automatic sound system that comes on when the driver hits a button. Button number 1 is lights, button number 2 is lights and sound. We teach our people in St. Louis that a mile marker away, a long way back, turn the lights on. If the people do not react and change lanes, go ahead and switch to button number 2 right away. Give those people 800 feet to 1,000 feet. That's anywhere from 5 to 8 seconds of reaction time. So they activate the sound. If they do the right thing, they turn them both off. If they continue in our lane and don't do the right thing and move out of the lane, they simply leave the system on. So you got the 6 white panic lights going off, you got the sound system going off, and I think right now, if you like, I'm just going to set the system off for a few seconds. It's on about 3% of what it will be in real world. This is just for the uniqueness, so that you can see that it's not an air horn or it's not a siren to be confused with an emergency vehicle. And the videotape that we've taken in real world, we are seeing people move over sooner rather than later, which is what we want. That gives everybody behind them a chance to move over as well. 2014 in St. Louis, we were hit 3 times without the sound system. 2015, the 2 hot seat units behind the road stripers experienced no hits. We striped the entire system. I want to take the activation out of the operator's hands. Also then, what that would do is it would allow a pothole crew, a bridge flushing crew, any crew out there at all could park the vehicle. The vehicle would still protect them in the work zone. So it'll be uniformed then by automated system to come on a specific distance, 1,200 feet for lights, 850 feet for sound is my idea. And if the people do the right thing and change lanes, great, the system will turn itself off. And again, that could be used for moving work zones or stationary work zones, either one. So hopefully today we get approval to move forward, and I'll work on the automatic for next year and get that tested this year in St. Louis.
Every year, this gets better and better. We figure out things that make it better, and then we go around in the room and do the competition. And it's really not about the competition part, but that kind of makes it interesting. Because what it's about is you go in there and you look at those innovations and you think about how we're going to make things better. And that's what this is about. And then we're going to do the fun stuff about how we're going to kind of recognize some of the ones that we really like and have a little bit of fun with that. But I want you to know that everybody that's come here today, or anybody that's been in the district with one of the challenges, everybody's a winner. Because all that stuff makes MoDOT better every day. So I just want to close with, DOTs are full of people that solve problems. And you put the challenge in front of folks, you create the right environment, and have the culture of innovations, and amazing things happen. So appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we're doing here in Missouri.
Yeah, it's been really good. I guess I'll wrap up too by saying that, when I first got here in July of 2009, I started meeting with MoDOT senior leadership, and they, the main, whenever I would go over there and I would visit with them, we'd talk about what they needed from Federal Highway to be successful here in Missouri, and consistently, after we got past the need for more money, it was, think innovatively. Don't limit our abilities by being closed-minded and not thinking innovatively. So we really did push that in our office for the last 6 years, and we've reorganized a few things to help help MoDOT be more innovative and be a player at the table to help with that. So.
Thank you very much, Ed. Fascinating stuff. And Kevin, thank you very much. And obviously, we are open to some questions from the video or from the chat pod. Why don't we start with the video feed? Anybody out there have a question for Ed or Kevin?
Yes, hi, this is Puerto Rico Division. Can you hear us?
Hear you fine.
Yes.
Yes, hi. First, Administrator Nadeau, I'd like to say hello on behalf of Secretary Torres and Executive Director Carmen Villar here that joined us in the Puerto Rico Division.
And my very best to my friends there. Thank you.
Thank you. And a question for Ed about the roads. I believe it was Roads Tomorrow. You said you had gotten quite a few ideas about revenue generation and so forth. Could you give us kind of a highlight of what types of ideas are coming to you from different users and stakeholders in private sector?
Yeah, I think, they range from maybe the traditional stuff you might think of, like, maybe a little different twist on tolling, to things like power generation on the right-of-way, to things like what is the subscription type service that people are willing to pay for. If you could provide, added level of service, would people be willing to pay for that as part of using our transportation system? So we've gotten some pretty interesting ideas. They all stretch some of our conventions, but I think they have merit, and I think they fit right into the future that we're all looking at with, autonomous vehicles and truck platooning. We've got those ideas, which are nothing new, but how do you implement those in a way that generate revenue? And so we've gotten ideas along those lines. We've kind of taken this in phases. We've started with just ideas, and then we've distilled them down to the ones that are maybe possible. And then we've actually spent some serious time looking at the ones we think have the most merit. And right now what we're at is the stage where we're going to take maybe our top 10 and try to put those in play with putting some RFPs on the street to actually see what the private sector is really willing to do. People can talk all day, but let's see if they're really willing to put their money where their mouth is and see if we'll actually get some of these things to actually happen. So in the coming weeks, we're going to be announcing some RFPs to try to take these ideas to the next level. But those are kind of the buckets they fall in. And then they get to the really innovative transportation solutions like Hyperloop and things like that. We're thinking about whether we should participate in the global challenge for Hyperloop on I-70. That's stretching a lot of our folks' minds pretty hard right now.
Thanks again, Puerto Rico, and glad to see our friends Miguel and Carmen joining you there. Next, any other questions from the video? Any other questions from the chat pod?
Yes, Greg, we have 3 questions from the chat pod. So the first one's about the STIC, and what is the relationship with the STIC and the innovations that you talked about? Does the STIC contribute to helping you do these innovations?
Well, I would say yes. I mean, we've organized our STIC with myself and certainly our director as the co-chairs of that. But we've met I want to say on about a quarterly basis. Our STIC has brought a couple of times now. We've received incentive awards of $100,000 to implement with to get that moving along. We've been fairly successful with receiving some aid demonstration grants. We've gotten 2 of those at $1 million apiece, and that's the partnership that we've created with all the different players in Missouri and being involved in that STIC. I mean, there's that conversation that's occurring there and moving that along. But I'll let Ed maybe from his perspective say a few words.
I think it's just it's kind of that culture thing we talked about at the beginning, is the idea that we sit down with, the STIC, with the Federal Highway, with the private sector partners and talk about the ideas and kind of throw out what we're thinking and see what catches wind and go from there. So I think it's just another one of the pieces of the puzzle that works well together to get us where we need to go.
Yeah, we put our STIC together pretty quickly right after we kicked this off, and I'm not sure where we were at in the country in terms of putting it in place. I want to say we were in the top 2 or 3 there before we really started moving these along, and then we hosted a summit in Kansas City as well. Maybe we co-hosted that, I believe, with our Kansas division office, but we did from that also had several innovations that were coming out of that process that we moved into Missouri, and we shared with the rest of the country as well. And I know we talked about a couple of those earlier.
And just a few more details about your STIC. How often do you meet, and can you expand a little bit about the membership beyond the DOT and the division?
Yeah, we meet quarterly, I believe. The last one was not. I believe it was a month or 2 ago. We have the same players most other STICs have. Our AGC is a part of that. Our concrete industry, asphalt pavement industry. We have the universities involved as well. Just the key players that you would need to have, I believe, at the table to bring these partnerships forward. And in the private sector, as Ed said, has been a part of that.
Great, thanks, Kevin. So 2 more questions. One is with regard to the innovations, does the DOT or do the staff members patent them?
Maybe. I think every state is a little different, and those are really problematic. The tow plow actually was patented by the individual that made it, or that came up with the idea. I'd say we've looked at that, and it's very difficult for a government agency to patent things. Your state may vary, but it's difficult to do.
Understood. And then the last one is building off of DeLAWARE. Do you have an innovation station or an idea box that your staff can submit innovations into?
We use our Innovations Challenge as kind of our repository. Not to say that people can't, but we don't have our formal thing that we do is every year. We just got done with ours a month or 2 months ago, and it starts again. So we're preparing for the next Innovations Challenge next spring, and that's become kind of the vehicle of innovation for MoDOT, because it's really expanded from you saw mostly tool and equipment in the video, but we also have areas of, productivity projects. The room is full of the best, and then that's multiplied by 7 in our round competitions around the state. So I think that's become kind of the innovations repository for us. And I'd invite anybody that wants to come next spring. We host that in Springfield every year. So if you want to make a trek to South Missouri, we'd welcome anybody that wants to come.
Now, with the challenge, do you recognize winners in certain categories, and how do you do that?
Yeah, we do. Actually, we have a panel of judges that do the judging at the district level, and then the highest ranking ones of those that in all the different categories come to our state competition where there's another panel of judges. It's the recognition is more about perpetuating the idea of innovation, but we do give individual awards to the groups or teams that do that, and they're monetary. The big winners of the best of show and those kind of things, we give money to their organizational units to further what they're doing. And then we have some fun trophies and some other things that we give just for fun. But it's something that we also try to maybe set some priorities with. We will put categories in year to year that deal with something that we're having issues with. One of our next year's categories is going to be work zone safety. Unfortunately, we had a worker killed in a work zone this year, and we're going to use that to piggyback a innovations initiative to make sure that doesn't happen again.
And unfortunately, that's all the time we have today for this National STIC meeting, and I just want to say 2 great examples in both DELDOT and MoDOT of innovation cultures. It seems to be driving everything they do, and certainly the Secretary and the Director of MoDOT both setting a terrific example for the organization, and Ed having been a longtime champion of innovation. And when he mentioned practical design, MoDOT's been a pioneer in that area. We're now deeply involved, Robert Mooney in our shop, in our Office of Infrastructure, and the work that that team is doing to advance performance-based practical design. A lot of it has its origins in the work that MoDOT did, and AASHTO's been committed to advancing those concepts. And just one example, and the Innovation Challenge is so cool. I'm really impressed by that, and glad to hear that the inventor at least got a chance to get the tow plow patented. It's his innovation, and that's quite an appropriate outcome. So thank you, Ed. Terrific presentation, and again, thanks to Jennifer and Mary and Kevin for making this particular STIC meeting particularly interesting. As I mentioned, we're rolling out our round 4 innovations later this summer, and actually I think it'll be relatively soon. We're making some great progress, and we're holding, of course, the biannual regional innovation summits in the fall, where we'll not only roll out the innovations for our stakeholders to consider, but that interaction at the summits always makes the proposed innovations better. So it's a real collaborative effort. I also want to say that, as I talked about earlier, the fact that Congress has essentially, provided us with this recognition by recognizing every day counts, but what they were really recognizing is the work that we're all doing across the country, in the states, in the DOTs, in the Federal Highway Division offices, and in all the stakeholders' offices. It really has created a commitment to advancing really an organized approach to innovation deployment, which is what this was about in the first place. So my encouragement is that what we've built here is really something special. We have this national network. Ed said it earlier. Not only are we really perfecting the process of sharing with each other both our successes and our failures, because Ed's absolutely right. Innovation is not always going to lead to a successful outcome, but without trying, without experimentation, without a little risk-taking, you're never going to get there. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So this we have to encourage, and the fact that we can share information and promote it around the country so rapidly because of this network we're creating, it really minimizes the risk and encourages the risk-taking so we can get to the better outcomes that we all seek. So it's a big thing. I think our commitment as a Federal Highway Administration through our Center for the Advancement of Innovation and OIPD is to provide the support to the network that you need to learn from one another and to be encouraged and often to celebrate the successes. So we'll keep in touch. We'll continue to provide that support. And again, we thank all our participants today and look forward to our next conference, which will be prior to the beginning of the summits in the fall as we transition from round 3 to round 4. So until then, keep having fun with it, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great summer, everyone.